Good day. How are you? Amazing. Oh, wow. Another day, another time to reflect on the journeys of our life. Also in communication, one of the things I've been dying to talk about is communication style, but specifically how it's perceived. Sometimes when you speak to someone, they may hear or read or feel a certain way, but that may not have been what your intent was. And this is what I want to dive into. But hold that thought. Let's take a quick break and I'll be right back. Hello, welcome back. And I just want to get right to it. So, a couple of years ago, I had a boss that called me into her office. And it was about 2000 and maybe 18 around that time. And she called me into her office and wanted to talk to me about a client. And the client and we were going over different things that we were talking about. But one of the things that the client mentioned was about just the way that a service was implemented. And so with that question stated, I responded, and the whole time my boss in this particular instance was CC'd on this communication. When I was talking to the client, me and the client had a great relationship, never had an issue. This client gave me a high score on a survey they received, but my boss called me into her office. And at the time, I knew that my boss and my direct manager were very close friends, best friends. And my manager, in a statement in front of everyone on our floor, one time told me, "I will work with you, but I don't like you." And I had expressed to that manager, "Why don't you like me?" "Because I just don't. And some people you just don't like." And that was his response. And pretty much where I worked, I had a lot of coworkers that I got along with, a lot of different environments. I was doing different projects. I was hand selected to be on different projects. And some of my skill sets that were once thought or underestimated to not be valuable were very valuable. And also my experiences opened doors for me within that space that others were not able to attain after being there for a certain amount of time. And so my direct manager had contentions with that, had issues with that. I was brand new, but I had all this to offer while they were there for a while, still waiting. However, again, my manager above me, bigger payroll, the long and the short of it, I get called into this particular person's office, and she's very upset. And I'm looking at her, I'm like, "What's wrong? Why are you upset? Have a seat. I want to talk to you about your tone in this email." I'm like, "Oh, my tone in the what I write." Like, I'm thinking now. I'm going back. I have over 100 clients. I have one of the biggest dashboards in my team. I have so many different clients, so many different variables and dynamics with these clients, whether they're beginning stages, new strategy, new business to business, small company, mom and pop, large scale, all different types of factors. So I'm just trying to understand, like, well, what client? And then she reads my response to my client in my email. But here's the funny thing. As I mentioned, me and that client had a great relationship and we had no issues. Not only did we have no issues, we joked, we had great conversations outside of what we had to do. So I'm like shocked because she talks about the client, different things. And then she reads my email. But get ready for this. She reads my email. And the first thing she does, and this particular person is not Latina, is not Hispanic, just not. And I mention this for a reason. I don't know if many of you know this. I'm mixed. I have a lot of different cultures. My mom is Russian Polish descent. She's Jewish. My father is from Bolivia, South America. And he has a background of being Bolivian, German. He's also fluent in his languages in Quechua. I should say he was, excuse me. But they spoke many languages. And I'm from New York City, and that's the melting pot, right? Kind of. Well, in this particular place, I was in a different state, in New Jersey. And I love New Jersey. My goodness, one of my best living experiences was in New Jersey. This particular person was also Jewish and mentioned to other colleagues that I wasn't Jewish and I needed to prove it to her, but hadn't told me that to my face yet. And we're sitting in this particular office, and she says, reading this to me, and I must say in a terrible Rosie Perez accent. I love Rosie Perez. I love her. And a lot of people sometimes tell me that my voice is like hers, which it's different, but I'm a big fan. But she was mocking this very popular, famous, iconic accent. And she even said, how does Rosie Perez say it? And then she read my email, and then she started moving her head and shaking her fingers and moving her shoulders. And then she added this great detail of attitude. And I started laughing, and I'm watching her. And as I'm watching her, I'm like, what the heck is this all about? And so I'm kind of like not understanding what this is about. And then parts in my email, she emphasized that had attitude or didn't have attitude and was angry or not angry. And parts of my email where I had a question, she asked in an offensive tone. And I said, whoa, what are you doing? She's like, why would you write to our client like that? Why would you add? I said, stop. I said, please stop. I said, you, my friend, are characterizing me as a villain, and you are perceiving a tone in my email that does not exist, because I don't talk to our clients like that. I have an accent, as many of you know, right? However, when I'm in my professional level or area, I change my voice. On this particular podcast, you may hear me speak like this, but when I'm inflamed, my real tone will come out. My real level of my accent comes out. However, many of you will say, oh, you're professional, but I know you're from New York. I can hear your accent. So either way, I can't really disguise that part of me. But my slang, I won't use. My energy, my narratives, I won't use. When I'm talking in a professional level, I keep it there. I make sure to enunciate is what I'm saying. So I look at her and I'm like, wait a second. So now we have another level of management with us, and that's our vice president. And I said, you know what? And I knew at this time, this vice president, I knew he loved me. We had a great relationship. He would tell me amazing stories about his family, and we would go in a journey of where he was going on vacation or what's new in life or what's going on with our business. And I love this guy. I got to tell you, the word to describe him is love. Okay. So I call him over to us. And I'm like, hey, listen, I need to talk to you. Can you just come here? And I had already expressed to him a previous incident I had with this person. And she was unaware that I've already expressed this to him. So I called him over and I said, hey, listen, I'm having a meeting with so-and-so. I really need you here. Can you come here for a moment? And this is our vice president. Listen to the level, okay? I'm just a measly little nobody, okay? And so he's like, sure, I'll be right there. He comes over. He's like, what's up? I'm like, I want you to read this email. So I give him the email, but I fold who it's from. I only give him the content of the email. There's no names, nothing attached. I literally cut everything off so he could just read it. And I'm like, can you do me a favor? Can you please read this email out loud? And he's like, well, who's it from? I'm like, it doesn't matter. And this is in front of the upper manager. And he's like, well, what is it about? I'm like, just read it in your own way of reading. Just read the email. Go look at it first and then read it. So he's like, okay. So he looks at the email and then he reads it, and he gets all the punchlines. The questions are all assertive but correct. He understands the level of professionalism in the email. He reads it. He's like, oh, this is a great email. It's well worded. He was like, who wrote this email? This is really excellent writing. And it's funny. And so at that point, I looked to my manager's manager, our without lack of terms, district manager. And I look at her and I say, yeah, that's how I wrote that email. And then he says, yeah, this is how she writes emails. This is how she always writes emails. Because sometimes I CC him on those emails. And he says, wait a second, I've read this before. I'm CC'd on this email. And I said, okay, well, my manager asked for me to meet today with our upper manager because of this email and my unprofessional tone. And so then he said, no, there's no tone here. He's like, you're excused. Go back to work. Let me have a conversation. I said, okay. I step away and they have a conversation. Then he comes back to me and apologizes for that meeting. Now, let's go back a step. I had mentioned something about being Jewish, right? Now, a lot of people meet me and they can't figure me out. They're like, is she a potato? Is she a yam, a sweet potato, a pumpkin, a squash? I don't know what she is. Trying to always figure me out. And that's okay. I don't figure out anybody. You say your name is so-and-so. I know you as so-and-so. If you later decide to tell me about yourself, great. If you don't tell me about yourself, I will never ask, as I believe in not prying in people's business. However, if you want to share something, I'm happy to listen and partake in your journey. I just always give that respect. Sometimes I tell certain people everything, and sometimes I tell most of the people nothing. The type of style I have in communicating is I have the gift for gab. So if we're on the phone, I will chat it up. However, I'm not a big texter. I will post on social media. I won't always put a comment. I'm not like that. That's not how I communicate. I'm very old fashioned. I really want, and I told this to my husband many times, I really want a rotary phone in our house that we keep stationed. And then when we come home, we put our phones on our recharges. And if we have to have a phone call, I will go to that phone because it is like going to the TV or going to the radio. It is a machine in our house. I don't like being attached to things, and that's how I am. I usually keep, so everyone knows, I usually keep social media available so for people that I don't see every day can still be a part, have a window into our lives. But as you all know, when you take a picture, you don't post the first picture you take. Many people put filters, adjustments, lights, greenery, background. 9 out of 10, when I post a picture, you get me in the transparent, in the raw. This is who I am. And I give you a glimpse of what's going on. I don't like to oversell. I like to be as realistic as possible in the moment of what's happening. 9 out of 10, it's relevant to that time and that place and that space in my life. That is who I am and how I communicate. So I would call that an under-communicator because I am not one who's going to over-communicate with you every single day unless there's a message I got to tell you, unless I'm telling you something that you need to know. I'm really going to back off a little bit. However, there's a demand there, right? Some people want, like my grandmother would call me once a week and she would say, I haven't spoken to you. I'm like, Grandma, we talk every week. And I understand from her notion, maybe I should have spoken to her every day. But that's my grandma's communication. That's not my communication. Now, every single day at 10 o'clock, I would talk to my dad on the phone every day. However, where he was, it was 11 o'clock. So I know 11:11 is when I would get a call from him, but it was 10:11 on my time or something like that. It was like an hour different. And I just knew I would talk to him and I would make time every day to talk to my dad. At that time, my dad was distressed. He was going through something. He was deported. So I know I had to be his lifeline because he needed a lifeline, literally had no one. So I had to be there for him. And I enjoyed our conversations. And every day at around 10 or 11, I look at the phone or I look at I wish I could talk to my dad. And sometimes I just talk openly, right? Then there was my mom. My mom and me touched base every morning. She was the first person I spoke to every morning in the breath. There was no phone, no device, nothing in between us. It was just a live connection every day, no matter what. And this is why I wake up early. I'm an early bird because my mom was always up early, so I was always there with her. This is my style of communication. Now, if you are in my life, meaning we live together, we work together, you may see a different side of me. However, if I don't see you every day, this is my level of communication. 9 out of 10, the majority of the people I speak to, I keep it light, easy, and bright. Unless something's going on, right? I don't want to dread on anyone's day. Not at all. And if someone tells me something, I give them a quick response. Like, da-da-da-da, period. That's it. There's no tone. There's no tone. Because if I'm a person, I don't need to put tone on things. Because I will tell you when I'm offended. I will tell you or express to you when I'm not approachable or this is not a good moment. Okay. So now the funny thing was with that manager, she came up to me and she saw that I was wearing a chain, and my chain had the Star of David and the cross for our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, right in the middle of it. And she was like, "Oh, why are you wearing a Star of David?" And I looked at her and I was like, "Well, why not?" Like, I didn't know that she was Jewish. And again, I don't assume on anyone. And so she said, "I don't understand why you're wearing that." And I said, "Do I need to explain it to you?" And so then I was talking to a friend about getting my son baptized, and in the same breath about the journey I had with baptismal and going to catechisms while being Jewish, and the synagogue I attended and the temple I go to and all these different things. And so then she stormed over to me and said, "What temple do you go to? You don't attend any temple. You're not Jewish." And I looked at her and I said, "Oh, excuse me, I'm so sorry. I did not know you were maintaining a census, but I am Jewish. And so I'm Jewish not only in faith, but in blood. It's in my DNA. Matter of fact, I did an Ancestry.com, and it specifically said that I'm Jewish by blood. I mean, I'm not afraid of backlash I might get on this. I'm also Catholic because, as I mentioned, my father's Catholic. I was raised in a Jewish and Catholic household. My father also is 1% Jewish. It's the funniest thing, in his blood, because of where he traveled, his family's legacy of how they got to Bolivia. However, I was raised Catholic and Jewish. And then my mom became a born-again Christian when I was 12 years old. However, we never let go of our faith. So I had to balance two different worlds, because understand, those labels that we have, religions, and our faith may all be in the same line of morals and values, but there's very different practices. And I had to juggle that. And I remember distinctly juggling that. When I can eat, when I can do this, what time is this, what time is that, how we do this, up and down in church. Do we do that? What do we say? Do we confess? Completely different. So I'm looking at her like, what I gotta tell you? I said, "Whoa, what's your problem?" And she's like, "You're not Jewish enough." And then I heard her say that. And I was like, "For your information," and she didn't ask me who's Jewish, how you're Jewish, who, what, when, why Jewish. But she was very negative, and she blasted me out in front of everyone. And I had a coworker who's so funny. He just got married, and his wife was Jewish. And he was like, whoa. What do you mean she's not Jewish enough? I just got married, and I'm going to have kids. What are you going to say about my children? So then she looked over, and just took a sip of coffee. She looked over, and she was like, she said, "Oh, no, not you, her." And he was like, "What are you talking about?" And then my other coworker, who had a strong faith, and his father was a pastor, was like, and me and him had a great relationship. He was like, "Whoa, what are you doing? You're crossing the line. So in front of people, this is what happened. So my vice president, me and him always spoke. We had a great relationship, and I mentioned this to him, and he was like, "Wow, that's unacceptable." And he didn't like that at all. He didn't like the conversation. He didn't like anything about it. But I had said to him, don't do anything right now. I'm just letting you know what happened. But I knew she had a strong, distinct dislike for me. But my first manager, he started all of the anger, because after he told me he didn't like me and all these things, he also assumed a lot about me. At the time, I had 3 children, and at the time, I had just I was working on my master's program, and I was almost complete with that. And he kind of was, putting out there that, I never graduated college. I was very young when I had my children, that I had different husbands, all these different things that were not true. And if it's true for someone, that's fine. But it wasn't true for me. Those were my life facts. And he said a lot of things, and I didn't know where he got that information from. but it was definitely negative and disrespectful. And so I didn't understand where that came from. However, that was always his tone. And so I had to try to understand why he spoke to me the way he did. And I don't know. So he started some rumors and she appreciated him because they were friends. And that's where this disdain came from, which always kind of resonated with them and other people in the office. So going back, I give you a lot of history. Going back, the specific tone there. So sometimes I realized, all right, that particular manager, he always had an issue with me. But I knew he didn't know certain programs. And I knew when doing deals with our clients, they would prefer working with me. And they would say, oh, can he not come? Can it just be you? I'm pretty jovial and I like to keep things light, where he would be very serious and disrespectful. And I wouldn't, call him out on it. But his energy with the client was always like, you're wasting my time kind of energy. And I'm always like, what else can I do for you kind of energy. And so there was a level there where I really became really tight with a lot of our upper executives because that is my energy. I talked to everyone. I knew every janitor. I knew every service person. I knew every print person. That's how I am since day one. Any job I've ever had, I like to know everyone in every facility because I'm friendly, believe it or not. And he was not. So I would walk in, they would say, hey, hey, hey. And nobody would say anything to him. And so I felt his anger and negativity spewing. And I noticed a lot of times when people inside of themselves are angry with me because of many reasons. It could be jealousy. It could be, why did they get this and I didn't? Or why do they have this and I don't have this? Or oh, they went there and I didn't go there. That energy. I don't know if anyone understands that energy. That ever happens to you? Like, you get a pair of brand new shoes, throwing out an example, and then you go somewhere where somebody says, oh my God, I want those shoes. Or, I hate you, I want those shoes. But it's not, that's the energy. It's not, oh my God, I love your shoes. That's a different energy. The, oh my God, I love your shoes is not the person I'm talking about. It's the gets mad or angry that they don't have that. Maybe they wanted that. Or maybe they feel they'll never have that, which I would never put on anyone. Anyone can have any of their dreams come true. So, but that is their energy. That person, whatever it is deficit. Something is missing in their existence. It could be anything. Maybe they don't have immediate friend. Maybe they don't have a venting space. Maybe they don't have a financial flexibility. Maybe their lack of time. It could be many different reasons. And so therefore you are at fault, or you are the one that provides them this outburst. So now whenever you do something, I don't like when she does that. But that's really, there's nothing you did. Again, it reflects on them. So if you say to them, for example, let's say you work with them, right? And you write to them, how are you? They may read it as, how are you? That's completely different. That was not your intent. And this is really critical because sometimes I work with people, or I deal with people, or I socialize with people that see when I write something, and that is the response I get. Why did you write that? And I'm like, whoa, what are you talking about? And I go back to the conversation I had with the upper management about an email I sent that was totally professional and fine and nice. And even that client, going back to the story, that client to this day, we're friends on LinkedIn, and reaches out to me and just loves me. And we have a great relationship. So I always think like, okay, why is your feathers ruffled? What did I do now? Sometimes I call people out. I'm very transparent, and I'm like that with my family. I don't hide things. If I talk to you and we talk about many different things, I tell you straight up. I'll give you an example. One time at work in a different job, different than that company, I was walking around all day and everyone's like, good morning, how are you, blah, blah, blah. And then my coworker came up and she was like, oh my God, you have a poppy seed in your tooth. And I was like, girl, you're a real friend. Nobody the whole entire day told me I had a poppy seed in my tooth. And here I am with a poppy seed on my tooth, and no one told me. You're a real one. Because that person didn't care. Then she was like, oh, good morning. How's everything? That person did not care if I was going to get offended. She just needed to convey the message that there was a poppy seed in my tooth. It's like if you talk to somebody and like, girl, your breath stinks. Do you need a piece of gum? They're offended. But what are they offended about? The fact that they thought that their breath didn't stink? The fact that I offered them gum to resolve the issue? Was it the delivery of me being like, whoa, your breath stinks? So there's different ways. If I am in a great relationship with you, we're great friends, and I say that to you, just take the gum. You know me. However, if I don't know you and I'm having a conversation in close proximity and there's nowhere to escape, I might say, hey, would you like a piece of gum or a mint? And they're like, oh, thank you. And they may not realize the problem. So is it my job to resolve their problem? No. If I don't know them very well, I may just offer a mint. Hey, here's a mint or a gum. If I know them, I could say, hey, look, I don't know what's going on, but take a gum. We're going to have a meeting right now. Now, if I really know them, girl, your breath stinks. There's levels there, okay? But now, if you're at a level with me, and I go, hey, you have a poppy seed. What are you talking about? No, I don't. Runs to the mirror to confirm they have a poppy seed, then to clean it. Their embarrassment and their anger is not because you told them that they have a poppy seed. It's because that they thought that they were perfectly fine. And now they're being told there's a poppy seed in their tooth. Now, there's a couple of ways they could have handled that. Thank you so much. Let me get this out of there. Right? But why are you telling me that? Oh my God, you have such a problem. Like, oh my God, mind your business. All of that energy. There's already a disdain for you. They don't want to hear it from you. You're the last person on earth that they want to see have a poppy seed in their tooth. That speaks volumes because you're the person, you're the deliverer, right, of that information. They're the receiver, right? We go back to communication. So if I'm receiving this information, I'm instantly offended that you told me that. A saving grace, right? You told me that. Now they're mad at you, but they're not mad at, in essence, the whole day they had that bagel for breakfast and it's 5:00. The whole day no one told them, right? No one told them they had misstepped, but you told them. So you're the villain. This is what I have an issue with. And this is when we talk about tone. Tone can be also in person, not just in an email. I'm a very transparent person. So if I associate with you, I give you 100% from the beginning. The moment I meet you, your credit is 800 higher. Your GPA is 4.0. I give it to you because why would I take it away? I don't know you. So I give it to you. And I treat you like you are the top-notch CEO of your world. Like you have millions of dollars. You have all these blessings. Like you have the baddest voice and you have like the baddest gear, the amazing energy. Like I give it to you. That's how I am. However, as we associate, you knock down your credit. And there's a point in time I'm going to say, look, I can't lend you this today because you don't have good enough credit with me. You build that relationship because I will always be consistent. I will always say in all the communications, good day, very truly. I keep it open and end the same. The middle is always pop, 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 beep, pop, pop, boop. If we're close, maybe we talk once a month, once a year. I am that type of communicator. If I work with you, then I talk to you every day and you're like, oh my God, this girl is annoying. I give people pieces of me because I know my energy is overwhelming. That's it. My poor husband, he deals with it all the time. So he knows my energy is very high level, very impactful, very loud, very abrasive. So if you can take it, then I can dish it, right? Some of you listen to this podcast only when it posts because I can be eccentric. So with that said, I give people small volumes of me. However, when you talk to someone and they are offended, but they don't go back to see what was said. Oh, you know what? She was telling me I had a poppy seed in my tooth. Maybe I made a mistake. Maybe we're in the lobby of a building. I'm like, oh my God, you have a poppy seed in your tooth. Like warning you. And maybe there's other people listening. Maybe that wasn't the right timing. Maybe I should have pulled you to the side and said, hey, listen. You have a poppy seed in your tooth. Maybe I said that to you. Hey, you have a poppy seed in your tooth, because someone next to you just said you had a poppy seed in your tooth, but they didn't tell you. So I wanted to put them on blast. Like, girl, you have a poppy seed in your tooth. I'm her friend. I could tell her. You feel me? I think that the perspective, I need to say this, is I will apologize for the offense that you felt, but I will not apologize for putting you on a transparent notice of what just happened, that you have a poppy seed in your tooth. Period. There's no tone. There's no hurtness behind there. There's no targeting. There's nothing to hurt or harm you, but to get that poppy seed out of your tooth. Now, when my friend told me that, my colleague at work, I was so, thank you. Oh my God. The whole day, the whole night, I looked at my friends. You are a horrible friend because you didn't tell me I had a poppy seed in my tooth. What can they say? Man, I didn't know how to say it. I didn't want to embarrass you. That's okay. I respect those people, because not everyone can be a forthcoming person. Some people have to reserve that energy. Some people don't know how to be confrontational. I'm very confrontational. I will say, tie your shoelaces. Here's a man. You got a poppy seed, girl, an eyelash, make a wish. That's how I am. I'm very like, I can't just sit back and watch it unfold. I have to say something, because that's my nature. And although sometimes I'll say, okay, Fanny, don't say a word, be quiet. But that little baby, we're in the mall, that little baby looks like she's about to fall down the escalator. Excuse me, mommy, is this your child? Come on now, grab her hand. That's how I am. That is exactly how I am. And that is how I was raised. And that is my nature. That's also how my grandmother and grandfather were. That's how my mom would operate, how my father might be. This is my environment, my community. I am that type of voice. And when that person came to me, I was so blessed. And then I looked at my friends, and I wasn't mad at them, but I knew they didn't say anything. So then I had to think, okay, this person's always going to tell me this person or these people, not so much. So I can't count on the different variations, right? There's a variation there. I need to say to that person, hey, let me ask you a question, but let me get your opinion on this, because they're going to tell me. These people say, hey, what do you like? Because I can't ask them about their opinion about specific things. I have to survey and find out from them their perspective. This is what I do. This is what I'm learning in my degree right now, my doctoral studies of research, different demographics, how people communicate. Sometimes I have to pull back, like, okay, we can't continue because we're not going anywhere. Maybe we need mediation. Maybe I need to understand why when I say something to you, you're always offended. These are conversations that we need to develop. And I then, in another meeting, same manager, let's go back to the original story. So another item happens, and this particular manager, she wanted to talk to me about something. And I was like, okay. So I said, I don't want to meet with you unless I have HR involved. And she didn't like that at all. She didn't like that. That bothered her. So HR came, and me and the HR person were very tight. We just were. It was a coincidence. We're from the same neighborhood, same town, involved in the same type of moving networks. So that person knows me differently. That person knows me who I am, root to soul. That person, we went to different philanthropy events, I should say. We hang in the same circles, and we've been to events together where me and that person are together in that event as not colleagues, friends, neighbors. Okay. So this person knows me different. So, however, this is our job. So we need to, be in our job role. So this person comes to the meeting. Now, this person is also friends with this particular manager, work friends, nothing deeper than that. So we get to the meeting, and she's like, I just want to talk to you about a recent survey that one of the customers gave you. They gave you 5 out of 5 on everything, but in this particular item, they gave you a 4, and I want to understand the dip. So all my clients, I was 5 out of 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 5, all of them. Every single one. There's not one that I was a 5. I have colleagues that are 2s out of 5s, 1s out of 5. Some, the client won't even put in a survey. They hated the service. But for this particular client, the item that they gave was, and I don't know if she read it. I think that she just saw the 4 out of 5 on that particular piece. and pulled me into office. Well, could you explain this? And I said, sure. Can we go over what the category is and what's the question? And she's like, excuse me? I'm like, well, just for everybody in the room to understand the tip. The tip was manager involved in project 4. So I'm not the manager, right? I'm the person who works under the manager. So that manager was CC'd on every communication, part of our building or whatever we're doing, enterprise implementation, but never really communicated, never got involved. And that 4 was for that. And I said, is there a comment listed with that? Because there's a comment box for every section. And so the hire manager reads the comment. Although the IS, which is me, the implementation person or provider, although the IS was direct and helpful, we didn't get a lot of communication from her management team. We could have used that in direction, although the work was phenomenal. That was the comment. So I said, well, there you have it. That explains everything to you, doesn't it? Well, why didn't you help the manager understand? Oh, I said, I'm so sorry. I said, excuse me, just 1 second. And I went to my HR person. I said, isn't that above my pay grade to help my manager understand things? And, my HR rep told me, you know what? I think we're done here. You can leave. I'm going to have a conversation. I said, sure. I leave. And the funny thing is, within that time frame, COVID happened. And because of what happened with COVID, it was so, when someone tells me that they were impacted by COVID, because I was impacted by COVID, the funny thing I think about is I'm not alone. And not funny like haha, but funny like interesting. I'm not alone. I didn't go through COVID by myself. Millions of people went through the pandemic and suffered. Right? And some still haven't moved on. Some have situations, disaster, financial, emotional, death, that you can't just move on, right? I laugh and I say I had COVID 4 times. Times I tested, I had COVID, and the first time was the worst, and each time was not great. And the funny thing is, my memory is not so great anymore, and my hearing, since the first time I had COVID, has gotten terrible. Is it related? I don't know. But my friends and family who had COVID when I had COVID expressed the same things. So around that time, right, companies folded, people were laid off, people were put to be on furlough. So many different things happened. So in that particular time, my company had to let go 500 people. And they had to pick from a pool of different people. So the funny thing was, I was one of those 500 people. And this particular manager called me to set up a meeting so that I can meet with her and so she can go over why I was being let go. And she was so happy on this call and so ready to just let me go. However, my HR people, my VP, all those people were so sorry on the call, felt so bad. And I'm going to tell you, like I always say, I don't hold on to things like that, career, job, things like that. I pursue things, I have a journey, but I know time is a gift. And money, you can't take money with you. When you pass away, where does your money go, right? So your real valuable asset in this life is your time. And I always end on this note, whether it's positive, I'm leaving and moving on, might be negative for the company, or whether it's negative, that I'm being asked to leave. Things happen in life, right? I always say, well, thank you so much for your time and this opportunity. Take care. Be well. That's how I always end it. So let's say I'm ending a job that I'm contracted for and I just don't feel it's going on. Say, thank you so much. No, I want that person to feel that I'm not bothered, because I'm not bothered. And if they need me in the future, I'm here for them. My door is always open. So even if you're saying, hey, we got to let you go, due to COVID, we had to let go 500 people, I'm going to always give you the sentiment of, I understand. Things happen, no worries. And I always will say the same thing. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Be well, take care. And then I hang up. Do you have any questions? Nothing. I'm totally fine. Doesn't matter the situation. Do you have any questions, or do you want to discuss anything? No, there's nothing to discuss. That will always be my energy? Or may I provide you resources to help you with any of my open cases, open clients, open accounts, things that you have been working on? May I here's access to that information. That's what I do, because it will always be open to you. When I got off that call, it was the funniest thing. My coworker who worked in that environment, who was not let go, right, called me and told me that she laughed hysterically in the break room, that it gave her such joy to get rid of me, that I really was too much of a star on the team, that I wasn't letting other people shine, and that she's so happy because I was really just annoying her, and she was sick of seeing me every single day. And then her friend, my direct manager, was like, oh, I couldn't stand it. And the notion that he mentioned was that he didn't have his degree yet, and that he didn't have that license yet, and that he felt like, wow, with her here, he can't talk to the managers anymore, the vice presidents, because she would just talk to them, and he had to really work up the nerve. And now that I'm gone, he could really work on building those relationships. And it's exactly what I thought. Because remember, when people treat you a certain way, there's an underbelly of how they really feel that they may not express to you. Now, my friend who was in that circle, who was also my friend, told me because of their relationship that they have with that person, and they continuously want to still work there, they're going to separate from our friendship to help them in their pursuit of their professional business being there. And there's nothing I can do. What can I say? I said, oh, okay, well, I'm your friend. I care about you, but you do what you got to do. And I didn't give them more to chew on, because sometimes you got to back out of people's lives so they can do them. Again, the tone. My tone is always the same. I will not, sometimes I do get fired and angered and upset, but that's not for the world to see. Sometimes I get passionate and I'll say, hey, blah, 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 blah. Pick up your dog's poop, right? I get passionate, but that's not always the time and the place in every situation. Sometimes I ask questions like, well, what do you mean you can't pick up your dog's poop? And because I don't pick up my dog's poop. That happens, right? But you're not trying to hurt no one. I always start with, am I in my lane? Should I stay in my lane? Maybe I shouldn't. I won't ever go back and say, well, maybe I wasn't in my lane, because I try to stay in my lane. And the other thing is, and I always say this, I will never say anything unless I'm absolutely 100% sure that's the truth, or that's the facts. If I'm wrong, I will admit that I'm wrong, but I will never say it. So I usually say, hey, I'm 99% right? Cucumbers are green, for example. However, what if I say cucumbers are lime green? That might be wrong, right? But they're green. So if someone says, hey, cucumbers are blue, we know, wait a minute, something doesn't sound right. I try to always be accurate, because wherever I go, I have to first explain who I am, what I am, why I have an accent, why I look the way I do, what my culture is, why I have this, why I don't have that. But I don't ask that from anyone. So because of that preconception or pre-thought, I have to be on this defensive, but I choose to be offensive. That's the road I'm going to take. So when I talk to people, they expect a defensive response, but I give them offense. And I think that's what creates a tone for them. Remember, how you speak and how you communicate is so important, but you cannot control what someone else is going through and how they are feeling and how they perceive what you're saying. That's on them. At the end of the day, that's on them, right? If you stub your toe, spill your coffee, your car is out of gas, then you get to work and you're like, get out of my way. And then later on, you're talking to someone and they're like, I don't feel like talking to you. Oh, what's your problem? The problem started the way you approached them on many different things in the past. And they remember that. So maybe they don't want to say good morning to you every day. And maybe they don't want to communicate with you every day, because it's first a healing for them to get over every single thing that you may have done inadvertently, not on purpose, but you did. So there's lots of different things to work through there, right? This is just part of a journey. We're all on a journey. And my journey is I will always try to be fair and transparent to you. Thank you so much for listening. And I hope you have a fantastic life on your journey and that we make it full circle. Take it easy. Bye-bye now.